Welcome back. The BRD Coordinated Agricultural Project is a multi-year research effort funded by USDA. The project involves researchers and experts working together to identify strategies that will help reduce the incidence of bovine respiratory disease. One often overlooked factor in the disease is how cattle are handled, as we learned from reporter Brian Baxter.
For cow-calf producers and feedlot managers, day-to-day experience shows the way calves are handled impacts whether they do or do not get sick with bovine respiratory disease.
Bovine respiratory disease is a complex disease that affects 80 to 90% of our health problem activities in America's feed yards and ranches. The way that animals are handled absolutely affects the incidence of BRD. BRD is a stress-related disease, and so we can lower stress and reduce BRD incidence.
So if animals get sick in part because they're stressed, then the people who care for them can help by doing what they can to ease the transition for calves every step of the way from ranch to feedlot.
And what we see on our database is that there's huge variation in BRD incidence across the industry. Lots of this variation is related to how the animals are handled at arrival, processing, and acclimation.
Low-stress handling methods involve understanding what cattle see and how the animals respond to pressure. A good cattle handler understands the working zone. That is the zone or area around an animal that's usually an elliptical or egg-shaped area that is a guide to handler positioning. A good handler will remain where cattle can see them. When a stockman is at the edge of the working zone with appropriate posture, only slight handler movements at appropriate angles are needed to control the animals in a low-stress manner. Cattle prefer to travel straight and to see their destination and source of guidance simultaneously.
Low-stress cattle handling is a concept that is not aimed at making animals gentle. It's aimed at convincing animals that handlers understand them. Low-stress cattle handling is a study of the relationship between people and animals in such that the people understand and appreciate the instincts of these prey species and can incorporate very effective communication when animals are being asked to move.
Just gaining trust of the animal so that that animal understands that you're not there to be a true predator, that you're there guiding their motion and that you're not there to hurt them. And if you can gain that trust, that's the most important thing.
Low-stress handling starts from the moment calves arrive.
They'll volunteer to go onto that scale themselves, then he weighs them, and then he puts them in a receiving pen. To put them in a receiving pen, he takes them past the point of where that pen is at, down the alley, and then allows them to come back to the pen voluntarily. So he's not pushing them down to the pen, they're actually going to that pen on their own. And that's an important part. Then once they're there, they always have fresh, clean water. They have prairie hay in the hay mangers, and some of them, if they've been long-haul cattle and they're going to get rest for 48 hours, most of the cattle here will get rested for 48 hours prior to processing, and they'll have ration in the bunk as well.
When they come in and they're on a truck for, depending on what state they're coming from, so many hours. When they rest, it gives the vaccine that they get whenever they're in the process barn, it gives the vaccine a better chance to work because they're not stressed. They'll come, they'll lay down, they'll stretch out. And then when they're processed, they're not stressed. Their vaccine works better for them to knock out BRD.
Welcome back. Let's return to Nebraska to learn more about low-stress cattle handling and how it impacts animal health.
Research indicates that when low-stress handling methods are used, the result is a significant reduction in pulls of sick cattle and an increase in overall average daily gain throughout the animal's time in the feed yard.
In terms of reducing BRD, I think it's a positive effect because we're able to get cattle drinking and eating in their space a lot quicker, and we get them adapted to the pressure in which they're going to receive.
There's really no comparison between the performance between the cattle that are low stressed and then the other cattle because they're more calm, and calm cattle perform better. Relaxed cattle perform better, and the low stress is what causes the cattle to be relaxed and calm. And as far as the sicknesses, you know, cattle that are stressed, just like a person, you know, the more stressed you are, the more likely you are to get sick. Same with an animal.
Creating stress when cattle are handled affects the hormone complexes related to disease resistance. The main reason that animals become subject to BRD, serious BRD, is that they tend to hide early symptoms, and so we pull animals late in disease. The thing that scares us about the development of bovine respiratory disease, we used to think it took 72 hours for the animal to go from normal to very, very severe consolidation. And we've absolutely documented that a calf can start getting pneumonia on Monday morning, and by Tuesday morning AM, he could have almost irreversible consolidation in the bottom of his right apical lobe. It happens much more quickly than we ever dreamed. So it's really important that we get these animals taught and convinced to share their true state of health. The BRD cases that we see, the first thing, if it's an infectious bovine respiratory disease and we have some infection colonizing in the lung, first thing we see is the top of the head is not level with the withers. So cattle that feel good, they'll be level. Okay, so if you see an animal and the top of his head is down, then you have to move that animal and ask what his tolerance for exercise is. If it's just a vaccine reaction, if it's just a cytokine release from an exposure, if it's just a vaccine sweat, and you ask him to walk this far, he'll get better. Oh, I'm okay. If he does truly have pneumonia, and you ask him to go from this gate halfway down this fence, he'll say, could I wait and rest? I need some more oxygen, and you let him rest. So head posture, tolerance to exercise, and then their willingness to communicate and take direction are the first signs we see.
Taking steps to cut the rate of BRD is not only the responsibility of the feedlot crew, cow-calf producers, and the decisions they make in terms of handling, health, and nutrition set the tone for the lifelong health of their calves.
It's really important that the cow-calf industry understands that preparing cattle to be weaned, vaccinating cattle prior to disease exposure, paying attention to trace mineral nutrition, and preparing these animals for changes of address is a huge opportunity for them to create value within the industry.
Nutrition is important on the cow-calf side as well, how they prepare not only the calf, but keeping the cow in good nutrition. And so she maintains her milk, and the quality of her milk is good. When it comes time to prepare those calves for weaning, how they're weaned at the ranch is important. All these steps matter primarily because they're preparing, they're like the preschool, preparing that animal to come to kindergarten.
Cow-calf producers should have an interest and a responsibility to prepare their animals for the next customer in this segmented industry. Success and sustainability in a cow-calf production unit is based on repeat transactions. It's based on positive relationships between that producer and the eventual buyer.
Participating in a beef quality assurance or BQA program is one way cow-calf producers can ensure their calves are well prepared for the transition to the feedlot.
One of the issues that cattle buyer, the feedlot, wants to know is, what have you done to these calves? And so by following BQA protocol, writing the procedures down, telling that buyer what you've done to those calves is money in your pocket. Because in my experience, feedlots will say, are you BQA certified? And if you are, tell me what you've done to these calves. So those are ways that being BQA certified helps to increase the value of those calves.
With low stress handling and more intensive observation of animal behavior throughout their lives, the incidence of BRD and death loss can be sharply reduced. From Nebraska, I'm Brian Baxter for NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
To find out more about these research efforts, visit the website brdcomplex.org or log on to our website at cattlemantocattleman.org.